Lots of folks out and about this Christmas Eve. However, businesses remain cautious. Surprise resignation at commercial radio. And tour the home of football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo. Good evening. This is the most festive time of the year here in Hong Kong. And despite all the holiday hustle and bustle, believe it or not, business in Lan Kwai Fong is especially low. Restaurants at the heart of the nightlife district reported fewer reservations, even though they kept prices unchanged during this special season. The Lan Kwai Fong Association claims restaurants had the lowest number of reservations in a decade. And according to our Winna Wong, there's a good reason. Turns out many residents have decided to spend the holidays away from Hong Kong this year.
For many, Christmas means a trip out of town. The airport seemed more bustling than usual today, people taking advantage of their holidays. This boy says he's looking forward to a white Christmas in Hokkaido. In fact, nearby Japan and South Korea have been very popular destinations for vacationers this holiday season. This tour guide says it has a lot to do with the exchange rate, reflecting the strength of the US and Hong Kong dollar against other Asian currencies. The Immigration Department estimates that around 7.37 million people will pass through Hong Kong's sea, land, and air control points over the Christmas and New Year period. That's nearly 4% more than the same time last year. As for those staying here, checking out Christmas lights along Hong Kong's famous skyline is a traditional favorite. But we might not have the perfect clear skies for that this year. According to the observatory, a humid easterly airstream is bringing foggy weather to the region, while a cold front will reach southern China's coastal areas tonight. In other words, while it seemed like t-shirt weather earlier today, it will get colder as evening falls, and visibility won't be great. Most MTR lines, as well as some of the light rail services, will be running overnight. Bus companies, green minibuses, and the Star Ferry route between Tsim Sha Tsui and Central will also provide extended services. Winna Wong, TVB News.
On the last day of his duty visit to Beijing, Chief Executive Len Cheng-ying told the media that Premier Li Keqiang said Hong Kong needs to plan for its future. Leung quoted the premier as saying the SAR should take into consideration the country's needs and its expertise when making such plans. The CE believes the key word in the premier's remarks is expertise. He said expertise is what Hong Kong can contribute toward its further development. And in doing so, he said, that will keep up the momentum of development in the SAR. Leung said Hong Kong will also support and make good use of opportunities brought by the country's One Belt, One Road policy. The CE also met with the chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission before returning to Hong Kong this afternoon. Radio personality and deputy chairman of commercial radio, Yu Ching, is stepping down from her post. Her resignation will take effect on January 1st. Joelle De Silva takes a look back at her career.
In a video of commercial radio's Christmas party posted on the station's Facebook page, Yu Ching sings a song she wrote. The song is about how dreams become reality if one chases after them persistently enough. Commercial radio has since released a statement saying Yu's resignation will be effective on January 1st. It also says there isn't a party that eventually doesn't come to an end, and expresses respect for Yu's decision and appreciation for her hard work. The statement stops short, however, of announcing who will replace her. Yu refused to answer reporters' questions as she left the studio, while some staff said they only learned about her decision at the Christmas party. Everyone is kind of shocked and unhappy. She was our leader for 35 years and she will be missed, this one said. While another employee noted that Yu was smiling probably because she will now have more time to do the things she couldn't while she was working. Yu first joined the station in 1971 as a DJ and was later promoted to Commercial Radio 2 Executive and Program Director. After leaving the station for a while, she returned in 1988 as a General Manager and would join the company's Board of Directors the following year. In 2004, she faced one of the most controversial moments at the station. At the time, Teacup in a Storm, a controversial show hosted by Albert Cheng, was cancelled, and later Wong Yuk-man, who was a radio personality at the time, was fired. At the time, she said evils tend to grow stronger when you bow down to it. Yu was friends with some of Hong Kong's most influential figures. Last year, she attended the memorial event for Sir Run Run Shaw and Juan da Silva, TVB News.
A Thai court has sentenced 2 migrant workers from Myanmar to death for murdering 2 British tourists. The case has marred Thailand's image as a holiday paradise. The bodies of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller were found on a beach on the island of Koh Tao in September last year. The woman had been raped and bludgeoned to death, while her male friend died from blows to his head. Migrant workers Zaw Lin and Win Zaw Tun admitted to killing the tourists, but later recanted, saying police forced them to confess. But the judge stated DNA found on the rape victim matched the defendants. While the defense team vows to appeal, one victim's family said strong evidence proved justice has been served.
They raped to satisfy their selfish desires and murdered to cover up that fact. They have shown no remorse during the trial. We hope the campaigners who have relentlessly publicised this case will respect the process of law and the decision of the court.
The government of France is taking bold steps to fight the threat of terrorism. It plans to strip dual citizens of their French nationality for anyone who dares to partake in acts of terror. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls called extremists who carry out terror attacks traitors of the nation. He said they should be stripped of French nationality if they're dual citizens.
C'est une sanction lourde.
Valls called the blind killing of fellow citizens in the name of an ideology the ultimate betrayal and the kind of culprits who deserve to have their citizenship revoked. So the government is seeking Parliament's approval to strip French citizenship from those with dual nationality who've committed serious crimes. Under the bill, convicted terrorists will still undergo trial and be sentenced in France. Only after serving their prison time will the convict be deported back to the other country for which they hold nationality. Valls insists that now, more than ever, France must step up security given the latest intelligence. He says more than 1,000 people have left from France to join extremists in Syria and Iraq, and 250 of them have now returned to French soil. Such was the case in the November 13th terror attacks in Paris that left 130 dead and hundreds wounded. Evidence proves that among the attackers were French-speaking men who left to fight for Islamic State. Facing a war against terrorism, jihadism, and radical Islam, Valls is pleading with Parliament to allow authorities to do this and more to protect the country's residents. Currently, only naturalized citizens can be stripped of their French citizenship. Extending the measure to all dual nationals has divided politicians on both the left and right. The proposal has also come under fire from human rights groups. The office of the British Prime Minister, David Cameron, is looking into the case of a family of British Muslims. The family was refused permission to board a flight from London to Los Angeles. Tony Sabine has the details.
The UK's Prime Minister, David Cameron, is under pressure to investigate an apparent case of discrimination in which a British Muslim family of 11 was not allowed to travel to America. They were planning a holiday at the Disneyland resort in Los Angeles, but were told they could not board their flight because US authorities had decided there were problems with their visa.
We actually felt humiliated
alienated because the way we was dealt with, it was just out of the ordinary.
The issue is sensitive because US Republican presidential contender Donald Trump has called for a temporary ban on Muslims visiting the US over concerns about extremism, especially since the Paris attacks last month. British lawmaker Stella Creasy, a member of the opposition Labour Party, said US officials gave no explanation for refusing to allow her constituents to board a flight from Gatwick Airport last week.
What's been troubling to me is they're not the only case that I've seen involving a wide variety of travellers, but one common denominator, people of Muslim faith. And naturally, there is a growing concern that that might be connected to this.
Creasy has contacted the Prime Minister seeking his intervention. She also says there is growing fear among British Muslims that aspects of Trump's plans are coming into practice, even though they have been widely condemned. A top Muslim group in the UK said cases like this appear to be related to religion and are worrying for British Muslims. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
Back locally, the Hengyi Cook is demanding help from the government with solving the problem of indigenous villagers selling their right to build homes under the small house policy. Diane To has more.
The issue stems from a court ruling in October that convicted a developer and 11 indigenous villagers of defrauding the government. They were given jail sentences of up to 3 years. The villagers had applied to build ding houses under the small house policy, but didn't tell the lands department that they had, in fact, sold their rights to build the houses to a developer. In several local papers today, the Hengyi Cook published a statement saying the case has left indigenous villagers living in fear. It insisted that the villagers aren't putting their ding rights above the law, but simply wanted to protect the lawful rights left to them by their ancestors. The Cook said it's impossible that the Lands Department did not know in the past about the way villagers work with developers. The rural body hopes to discuss with the government an administrative way to resolve the issue, saying it would otherwise take the matter to court. It's even considering asking the National People's Congress Standing Committee to give an interpretation of the Basic Law to clarify what exactly the law allows and disallows the villagers to do. But lawyer Lam Kwok Chung, a member of the Hengyi Cook, admitted this is a last resort. He said the feasibility of requesting an NPCSC interpretation still needs to be explored, since it is a very serious matter and requires the Court of Final Appeal to agree to set the process in motion. The Cook has called on villagers to stay calm. It added that provoking indigenous villagers would create bad consequences for governance, next year's Legislative Council and the CE election in 2017. Diane To, TVB News.
Customs officers have seized $10 million worth of suspected counterfeit medicines, the biggest such haul in a decade. They arrested one man in the operation. Acting on a tip-off, customs officers found about 40,000 pills of suspected counterfeit drugs, poisons, and pharmaceutical products at storage facilities in Kwun Tong and Nau Tau Kok yesterday. Almost half of the items seized were packaged as medicines for men and believed to have been prepared for sale in the Kowloon East area over the holiday period. And in the NBA, no holiday letdown for the Golden State Warriors. They beat the Utah Jazz 103-85. Here's Jamison Wong.
He has the hottest selling jersey for Christmas, probably because he can shoot the lights out and also get to the rack. Steph Curry and the Warriors up early against the Jazz. Flash Brothers.